Try it again. Oh, it doesn't seem to like it tonight. Let's have a look. Just when they're hitting that go live, it just doesn't want to. It usually just connect straight to YouTube.
I'm just trying to give it a final retweet before we go on. I'm just trying to find the tweet. My notifications have been a bit busier there.
Yeah, I think it is the internet. I'll just quickly switch to my data. We'll try that. Right, this should work this time now. I've got my data on. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North East Non-League Show. Just having a few teething problems there. Internet, like it's just been saying to Dan, Sky's pressing the magic button because we're leaving them this week, so apologise for that. But yeah, just want to say a massive thank you to our sponsors, Beer Watch TV, Sunderland West End, and proud to support If You Care Share Foundation as well. Back already with another episode, obviously episode 5 last night and episode 6 tonight. And join us, we have Dan Blyth. Dan, thank you very much for joining us.
No problem at all. Glad to be here.
Just saying there before we came on there, we've got Dan, and then luckily Jacob later. So I'm just glad these weren't all at the same time because it would have been quite confusing as we went on there. But yeah, tonight it's quite of a National League North special and kind of looking at how the 4 clubs are getting on this season and starting with Blyth. And it was kind of a tricky pre-season, obviously, going into it. I mean, what was your thoughts after pre-season with that first game coming around before, obviously, what happened a week later?
I mean, it sounds weird to say, like, when you sack a manager, remove him after one game. I was delighted, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Which, it didn't sound very nice to say, but it's the truth. I think when we brought him in December of last year, I knew who he was from his time at Gateshead. Didn't know a lot about what he'd done in like the last couple of years. Obviously did a little bit of research, so he had a good mix of like full-time jobs, part-time jobs. So in theory, I was thinking it's perfect because in the past you've obviously had part-time managers who perhaps weren't very professional, and you've had full-time managers who have obviously come in and maybe haven't really understood, the part-time player mentality, of course. And obviously we picked up a couple of wins. Got the win over Gateshead on New Year's Day, which was weren't the best team that day, but we got the win, so I wasn't too bothered. It felt like throughout January things were, they were going well. Things were, we're getting results. We're moving away from the bottom, and as the season went on, we just it just didn't play very well. A lot of poor results. There was the odd rumor flying around that maybe some of the senior players or just some of the players really didn't really get his training and I like his training too much. And then end of the season, the rumor was going around that he was going to be going into the season. I was very happy for that to happen. Again, by all accounts, Terry Mitchell's a nice bloke, but just maybe not good enough to manage at this level. But ultimately, he ended up staying. I was a bit confused by that, obviously, and we'll let go of a couple of experienced players who, don't get us wrong, I know the likes of Maguire and Reid, who did a great job for in the past. They kind of didn't perform last year, and obviously we don't know players' wages, obviously, but you kind of hear things and you guess at things, and I would have guessed that they were 2 of the bigger earners just because of what they've done for in the past. And then as sort of summer rolls on, re-sign most players we wanted as fans anyway, and then the new signings, they don't really come in. Obviously brought Alex Nicholson in, who I wasn't too well. I'm not going to say I wasn't too sure of him because I liked him back in the day, but your first couple of pre-season signings, you want big marquee players.
Yeah, definitely.
And I felt like he'll do a good job for it. And to be fair, since he's come back, he's been one of my favourite players this year. He's been tremendous. But then we brought a couple of other lads in, but I wasn't blown away by anybody. And I know for a fact that some of the players weren't too happy with the recruitment, and obviously fans weren't. I know for a fact Terry was given a list of players who had National League North experience or would play for who've been around this level. One example being Mark Beck, who is obviously chose Darlington.
Bang him in,
yeah. I mean, again, it's a the non-league community around here. It's a little bit of a small community, so I don't want to talk about the exact figures in terms of wages I heard, but I heard we made him a good offer, and then Darlington offered him the same, and he chose Darlington because, being honest, they're probably they're a stronger team. There's no denying that whatsoever. And in terms of a long-term vision, especially in the middle of July, they were just much better set up than us, and I didn't blame them at all. And there was another lad who was based over the northwest area-ish.
Right, yeah.
And well, we offered him 150 quid a week, which is insulting considering how much you have to spend in petrol traveling
to get there.
Yeah, exactly. I think the quote I heard was you'd be left with 20, 30 quid a week. And it was just anyway, as a fan, it's embarrassing to hear that because your club just looks ridiculous. And again, the pre-season schedule, I'm not going to count the Sunderland game because that was more of a trading game, and the lads just got past the death. We only really had 5 games, and for me, fans are always going to moan about who play, who don't play in terms of how good the opposition is. For me, it doesn't matter too much as long as you're playing in pre-season. I like to see we play Saturday, Tuesday.
Yeah,
just to get the minutes and the legs and that. And I think we played 5 games in pre-season again. It was crap. First game of the season, I kind of expected to get beat by a little bit more, to be honest with you. And then I think I was at work on the Tuesday or whenever it was, and my phone just starts blowing up, and I'm thinking, oh, he's gone. Okay, well, good, but I was kind of expecting, admittedly, again, don't want to be horrible, but I was kind of expecting a pretty terrible start to the season.
Yeah.
Get knocked out of the FA Cup in a similar sort of vein as to how Cassidy went years ago, and then bring somebody in. But admittedly, there was rumours going around on the opening day of the season that Graham Fenton's contract situation or whatever the hell was going on there had been sorted out with Sell Shields.
Right. Yeah.
And I was sort of thinking, all right, that's good to know in future. I didn't think I didn't think it would be that relevant that quickly, but
Yeah, it was like I say. I just remember seeing the news. I mean, I love following the non-league Twitter, and it just came around. Obviously, Coulson left first. The system manager thought this thing's not right here. Then obviously a week later, Mitchell leaves as well, and you're thinking, what's going on? You've got a chance to bring them players in.
Yeah,
you've given the chance, and then all of a sudden he's gone. Now the new manager that comes in, they've got to kind of change that around, don't they?
It was another weird thing because Coulson had actually left at the end of the season. We just didn't announce it for ages for some reason, and he was filling in pre-season a little bit.
Yeah.
And there was also Graham Carrick there who was filling in. I think he works for Newcastle at some level.
Yes.
I don't know what he does there.
Yeah.
And there was I think he was a Romanian, a Lithuanian coach. I have no idea who he was to this day, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it's just, obviously it's Blyth Spartans, semi-professional. We're not expecting, the world, but you expect to at least have an established assistant manager when you go into a season or established backroom staff, but obviously that wasn't the case.
Definitely not. But like I say, Fenton comes in, and I think a few fans, and it kind of shocked a lot on I remember on social media. I know we had Tom Wade on a few days before that, doing an interview, and he kind of laughed it off, and we said, are you interested in the job? And he kind of played it down, saying, if I asked the wife, she might let us back in. And he literally messaged a few hours after the appointment and says, I did know Fenton was coming in, but he couldn't really see on the show. But Fenton comes in, I mean, the levels do pick up, and you must be quite pleased with how he's kind of changed it around so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think Graham coming in was not exactly a state secret. I think for me, there's been some great performances. Well, I don't know if maybe great's a little bit too far, but there's been some really good performances, some good results, and there's been some poor performances since he came in. Again, as a fan of his since he first played for and obviously was assistant manager back in the day, I'm always going to sort of support him, of course.
Yeah.
But I think, again, I don't want to be too harsh to the lads we've got, but I just think there's maybe a couple of players in the squad who maybe just, aren't good enough. And don't get us wrong, some of them might prove us wrong. I've been proven wrong in the past, and I love being proved wrong. One of the main examples being when we signed Pete Jameson back in the day, who was obviously now playing for Harrogate Town.
Yeah.
A former Green Army Player of the Year. When he first came in, I just thought he's absolutely crap, him. But right, and obviously now and I thought the same about Macaulay Longstaff, who I think he had 3 loan spells with us. Played 16 games. I thought he was pretty naff. And he's being linked with Championship.
He's doing all right.
So yeah, he's doing all right. Yeah. So maybe my opinions aren't worth much, in that sort of respect. But I think, depending on how the FA Cup goes, I think we're probably going to see a turnover in players come, I don't know, January time. But obviously, that's a long way off. Yeah, we don't know just yet.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to mention, obviously, FA Cup, and we know all the Blyth's magic with the FA Cup and Wrexham at home, and what a draw it is. I mean, obviously now they've got the billionaires in there. It's all over, obviously, television now and the States and everything. It's quite magical. And if are you really hoping that you can go on there on Saturday and get the win?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound maybe a little bit disrespectful to supporters who are from an older generation, but I'm absolutely sick about hearing about 1978. I really am. I mean, every taxi driver I get on with, and you get chatting about football, you mention Blyth, and I was there in 78 at St James's, and I'm thinking, of course you were, mate. Of course you were. But obviously, it's a massive part of the club's history and that. But like, as a younger fan who saw the previous 2 proper cup runs and got to celebrate them, it annoys me a little bit when all people want to talk about is 78 and that. But again, I'm going to really enjoy the day. It's going to be a massive occasion for the club. In the long run, it's more about the money, really. That might sound a little bit horrible, but Blyth needs to get money through the cup, through the FA Trophy later on, because we don't have the same amount of money as Gateshead, Darlington, Spennymoor, South Shields, all these other teams. So we've got to raise money somehow, and getting it through a bit of prize money isn't too bad. The dream tie for me and the lads is Sheffield Wednesday away in the first round, because because you get to go to a massive ground like that, and obviously we get half the gate receipts, which would be a canny payday. But it wouldn't just end there, maybe not, but we'll see.
Like I say, it's massive though, because even if you do get beat on Saturday, the money that's going to be coming into the club, and it is a good amount of money that could bring in possibly 2 better players than the lads that's there at the moment, which could then help in the league. Possible push for the playoffs, you never know. I mean, what is your aims for the rest of the season if he does pick things up a lot better than what he's done at the moment?
Honestly, mate, it's difficult to predict. Because again, I'm pretty confident that we'll have quite a few different players within a few months, definitely by the end of the season. I don't want to sound defeatist, but just staying up. I know you look at the league table and we're down there, but I don't think we really belong down there. We didn't belong down there last year. I know we've kind of been in the relegation spots for the last couple of years. The previous 2 years, I would have said we deserved it because we were pretty crap. Last year, we're hit and miss, but this year, I think, even though I think we can do better, I don't know. I'm confident of a mid-table finish, maybe. Just because for the last 10, 12 years, as a club, we've been fighting relegation or trying to get promoted. So it sounds miserable to say, but I just want a boring season that's over in March. We've got nothing to worry about or nothing to, hope for, and just think, right, we're comfortable. Let's go in the final, however many games of the season and just relax, take the foot off the gas. But obviously with Blyth, things are never straightforward, simple, or dull, really. So.
Yeah, it's been, like you say, a tough few years. It's just nice to settle down for a season. Hopefully, like you say, get that win on Saturday. It would be amazing. Get a good draw in the next round as well. But finally, getting onto your score prediction for Saturday. What are you going for?
Well, going off their result on Saturday, it's a bit of a hard one to guess. I must admit, I think since Graham's come in, I think we've been defensively a lot more solid. Generally speaking, going forward, we always seem to be lacking something in the final third. I mean, I don't know. 2-1 is probably a very bland answer to give, but yeah, I think we might sneak 2-1. I'll probably be proven wrong now, but I can't imagine it being a very high-scoring game because of how sort of well we're defending, and I think they're probably going to rotate some players. The big thing with the game, obviously, is how do Wrexham look at it? Do they see it as a chance to get in the next round, get on telly, promote their brand, because obviously that's what they're doing at the moment. Or do they think, stuff it, let's just take a risk, put a few reserves out, and then concentrate on the league? Because obviously getting out of the National League, you've got your one top spot that goes up. It's come the end of the season, if you draw a game that you should have won, that could be you need a title
one, isn't it? Yeah.
And then, like they did last year, they have that playoff game, and then things just don't go that way. So it's difficult to say, really. But I think 2-1. I hope Liam McNall's back, obviously, for Saturday, because we've missed him in the last few weeks. So
not really good. But Dan, no, honestly, thank you so much for coming on, and we wish you the best of luck for Saturday as well. And fingers crossed being that first round. I love it's special these rounds when you're watching the draw and they're sitting in some clubhouse and it's not all about massive money in Premier League clubs. It's great, isn't it, when they get the names picked out of the hat? Everyone's sitting waiting for that big name.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the FA Cup kind of like dies off in the 4th or 5th round when all your lower league teams are out, and then maybe I'll watch the final. But for me, the FA Cup sort of starts now, basically.
No, amazing. No, thank you, Dan, and I hope you enjoy the game on Saturday as well.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Again, everyone, thank you very much for watching. We've got double figures at the moment. Join us next. We have Dan, the Spennymoor fan. Another Dan in the room. Dan, thank you very much for joining us.
Not a bother, mate. How are you doing?
Not too bad, yeah. And getting on to Blyth season, now on to Spenny. And I mean, you look at over the summer, Morley, Johnson, they get the chance to bring in the players that they want. And we've kind of mentioned on the shows that we've had so far where you look at Spennymoor over the last 3 or 4 seasons, it's been kind of players from the northeast, hasn't it? And it's kind of a close group, and they've kind of expanded that in the summer. And they've got the chance to bring the players in. What was your kind of aims with the players that they brought in? What was your hope for the season going into it?
My hope personally was I was adamant we were going to win the league. I was adamant we were going to. Honestly, when the club appointed Byrne and Jono, the hype just around the place was super.
Oh, it was massive, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I think if they'd come in maybe 1 or 2 games earlier, I think we probably would finish in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Put together a very, very good run last season. Obviously, just missing out. Beginning of this season, I thought recruitment was tough. I thought it would have been. We would have had a bit more pull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But obviously, the other teams in the northeast that are at our level, and then you've got sort of Stockton and Mask and Children teams that are coming up from the Northern League and at the Evo stick. Recruitment's it's only going to get tougher now that promotion is mandatory from the Northern League. So the pull that I thought they would have from the northwest, which didn't really materialise, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thought if we got that right, in my eyes, we were up there. It's still a bit of a sore subject for me that they've left. Half of our fan base was properly for them. The other half was dead against, couldn't stand them, wanted them out. Personally, I thought they were a breath of fresh air. A few people have said a couple of things about sort of a clique that's within the club.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I can see where they're coming from, but I don't think that had anything to do with the lads leaving. I think it just the travel got to them.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, it's kind of early in the season. I mean, mid-September, the news comes out, the manager goes, and I mean, at the time, as you say, when I looked on social media, it was kind of a split decision, wasn't it? A lot of people said give him a bit more time, and a few people quite obviously said that they did go. I mean, do you feel it was the right time, or do you think they should have been given a little bit longer?
I think, my opinion, I think they should have been given longer. However, I think in their minds, I think their minds were made up at Clitheroe. They were both talking to Jason for a good hour after full time. Jason had that sort of look of despair on his face when he walked past. I think he knew then. I think the decision was made then. Did I think that we would bring somebody else into the club as opposed to an interim base? Yeah. Is interim what we need at the minute? Probably, just to try and steady things.
Yeah.
The start we've had to the season, I don't think. I mean, we're talking about we 16th in the table, and we've only lost 2 games.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
We've lost 2 and 11. We've drawn too many. In the games that we have won, we've kind of scraped by. But then we go to Fylde away on a Tuesday night, 2-0 up, cruising, putting in a performance, dubious penalty. You know, that's the way things are going for us at the minute. But we're not a million miles away. I mean, I missed the game on Saturday, the Buxton game, because I was at work, so I can't really comment on that particular match. But from what some of the lads were saying, it was a tough watch. But we were always gonna have this period of sort of stagnation, if you like, where we've rose up and we've flew through the leagues like nobody's business, and we were always going to have this stagnation and this sort of mini transition, if you like. And I think this is it. I think the next appointment, manager wise, is massive.
It's huge, isn't it? Yeah,
I think it depends.
Definitely.
It's gonna fall. I was going to go one of 2 ways. I think this season, and we still only 3-4 points outside the playoffs.
That's it. A couple of wins, isn't it? Changes.
There's a hell of a long way to go. There's a hell of a long way to go. So the season's by no means dead and buried. But I think this next appointment, I think, is massive.
Definitely. I mean, like you say, you look at it as well, like we've just been mentioned about Blyth there. Obviously, the managers go. And then within that week, there was kind of a few players gone out on loan, a few players coming on loan. Obviously, Jason Ainsey comes back in the club. And again, it's so much happening so early in the season. And that could go either way as well, where there's too many changes at one time, where they just need that time now just to settle down, get a squad together. Because like I say, it's always been a small squad at Spennymoor, hasn't it? It's always kind of relied on that with some youth players coming in to the squad at times. But they just need to kind of settle down now, as you say, get the right man in. And like you say, it just takes 3 or 4 wins and you're back up towards that playoffs where you've kind of always been since you've been up there, haven't you? It's the first time we kind of seen Spennymoor in this kind of situation, really, isn't it?
It is, and I think for a lot of our fans who have only really sort of known success.
Yeah.
I mean, I've followed the club since I was 2-3 years old. This is my 30th season now.
Wow. Yeah.
Going back to the United days and seeing the demise of that, and then being 16-year-old and trying our best to keep the club going, whether that was on a Sunday morning. Our crowds have obviously shot up. The expectations shot up because of the level that we find ourselves at, and after the Vars, especially after the Vars win. But I think expectation sometimes outweighs reality. And I think for me personally, to be holding our own in the National League North season in, season out, and we've always been there or thereabouts. Like you said, we've always been challenging. We've always been in and around the playoffs. The year we got beat in the playoff final, we went to Stockport. We got beat 1-0. If we'd have beat Stockport, we'd have won the league.
Different story, yeah.
Honestly, we'd have won the league that year. Would it have come too soon for the club? Probably. Was it the end of the world that we didn't go up? Probably not, because of infrastructure probably wasn't quite there. Tony Wilson did a lot of unbelievable work behind the scenes to get the club to where it is now. And I think he said at one point, we were the team that, we were the club that nobody wanted us. The league didn't really fancy us being in because we were a bit mismatched off the pitch. Tony come in, tightened everything up, and now the league use us as like a reference to how to do things right off the field.
No, it's amazing what they've done. Like I say, we had Rash on a few weeks ago, and he said he went back after so many years, and he was in shock of kind of what the club now looks like compared to last time he was there. And I mean, like you say, you've been involved for nearly 30 years now. I mean, you must love kind of what the club's gone for, even just over the last 10 years. It's amazing the work and the effort that everyone's putting in down there, isn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, the brewery field's unrecognisable. Compared to what it was, you know, it was a dump. It was. There's no ifs or buts about it. It was an absolute dive, and I think it's no secret that we hit the jackpot when Brad Groves came in. Without him, we wouldn't have a club now. Simple as that.
No, he's done wonders, hasn't he? Like I say, it's not just now though. Like I say, when Rash has gone back, it's the former players are coming back. They're doing speakings before the game, after the game. They've got the boards around the stadium. It's really a great family club, and all the players are remembered, aren't they?
They are. I mean, I played in a charity match for Andy Oates.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, Rasha was there, and then it was like a Spenny Legends 11 against like a supporters 11 that Oates had asked us to put together. I dragged Byrne and John Ho in. They travelled up on the Sunday despite knowing that they were leaving the club.
Right. No way. Yeah.
Which to me said wonders about them as people. But I think going forward for this season, I think playoffs is achievable. I think with the players that we have, we should be aiming for that at least. It's achievable. Do I think we'll get there? I think our home form's a massive worry at the minute.
Yeah.
We're finding goals really hard to come by. Alfreton at home drew 0-0. We battered them, absolutely battered them. Just wouldn't go in. Another game where we failed to score. Buxton at the weekend. Even and our home form's always been what sort of dug us out the brown stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, teams coming up here, they just didn't like it, did they? It's like, yeah.
They didn't like the slope, and they didn't like the pitch. But I mean, our pitch now is like a carpet, and it's
great, isn't it? Yeah.
The slope's still there, but the playing surface itself is unbelievable. That's credit to Mark, like our groundsman. But I told him I'd plug him on it. But I think it's probably worked a little bit worked a bit against us, because we were always a team that got sort of in your face and pressed high and tried to, and didn't allow teams to play when they came. Now I think because of the progress, and you've got all these full-time clubs and these sort of clubs on the hybrid model, and they play a lot more football on the deck.
Yeah.
I think at times we only have a plan A, and if we don't implement plan A, we haven't got a plan B, and it becomes pump it long, bypass midfield, hope Taylor gets on the end of it, and teams are figuring that out with us now. We've been in the National League Law for 5 years. Teams are figuring us out.
Yeah, but hopefully, like you say, now if they get the right man in and getting the players settled, getting that squad settled as well, and hopefully injuries stay away. And like you say, we wish you all the best of luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully, we'll get you back on again and kind of talking about the playoff spots at that time. And like you say, we just wish you the best of luck with Spennymoor, and like you say, all the work that you're putting in as well at the club, Dan, as well.
Yeah, cheers, really. Thanks, mate.
Excellent. No, thanks very much. We'll get you back on again, mate, and hopefully good times.
Yeah, cheers,
excellent.
buddy.
Well, thank you.
Ciao.
Next up, Dan. Another Dan, third Dan of the night. Last one, though. But yeah, Dan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Alison. It's great to be here.
Excellent. But yeah, just got to start kind of, I know a few Gateshead fans kind of looking at this season and saying it's been an iffy season, but we've got to start from last year. The amazing job that they've done to get promotion. It was a great day, wasn't it, overall, that last game?
Yeah, it was. When I think back to that that Chorley game, just an outpour of pure emotion from
Yeah.
everyone at full time. It just felt like we just righted all the wrongs of a few years previously, like all the damage that was left by the previous regime had finally been cleaned up. And you've got to remember, it was what Gateshead were hours, like possibly just hours
Crazy,
away
wasn't it?
from
Yeah.
just going bust altogether and possibly having to start again down in the Wearside League and that. But it was pulled back at the 11th hour. But unfortunately, obviously, we did have to face consequences of demotion. I won't call it a relegation, because you got to remember, at the end of that last season we had in the National League, we did actually finish 9th in the table.
Yeah.
And obviously the records won't show that because of the National League obviously hit us with a points deduction after the season had finished and things like that. But yeah, so it was really frustrating. It felt like a massive kick in the teeth to all those lads that worked really hard to get us there, get us to that position that season, despite all of it. But in a way, like, I'd maybe say it could now be seen as a blessing in disguise, because that sort of spell that 3-year spell I had in the National League North, it maybe sort of gave us the appropriate chance to restart again as a club, because I think in sort of the years leading up to Joe Colour and things like that, like, things had gone a little bit stale. Like, attendances were massively dropping off. Like, we're spending way beyond our means. That's no sort of hidden secret about that. People were losing interest. Like, going to home games, I'm not gonna lie, it just was not particularly fun whatsoever. But I think maybe going down maybe helps in a way, because gave us a chance to win a few more games. Like, maybe start investing sort of locally as well, instead of sort of recruiting basically journeymen from down south. Like, get local players playing for the club again, get the people back on side, and it showed. Like, in that first season, obviously before COVID hit, attendances started to rise again. We had a fairly respectable run in the FA Cup that year, and it's just at a time when COVID hit and football stopped, like, it really looked as though we were starting to get it together. And obviously, at the end of that season, we did actually get a playoff spot by virtue of points per game. But I honestly think if that season had sort of been able to finish, like, we could have even pushed up and possibly even got to 5th, 4th, maybe even got into 3rd and got that bye into the semi-final. And we just seemed to carry it on. Then obviously last season, all the sort of rebuilding and the hard work, even through the pandemic, sort of really came to fruition.
Yeah, like you see, I knew it was kind of bad at the time, but I know we had Ian Watson on a couple of weeks ago, and some of the stories he was telling where they've sold, like, the kit man had to sell his van to get a bus for the team to go down to a away game, and the chairman sleeping in the stadium until he got kicked out and stuff. I couldn't believe some of the stories that they were, how bad it actually really was. But like you say, that the fans, the group of players, Williamson, Watson, kind of stuck together, got that promotion. And again, everyone just tries to kick you at any point. I mean, in the summer, like you say, that the two main strikers get sold. Williamson, there's a lot of rumours, would he be going to Hartlepool as manager? And it was kind of late recruitment, wasn't it? I mean, with kind of everything that happened in the summer, the two best strikers leave, and what was your kind of aims going into the new season?
Well, it was a strange one, because I sort of kept it in my head sort of throughout the summer. Like, probably got to do really that. Yes, it was a huge blow losing Macca and Keds. There's no getting away from that, and it's showing now. If you see how well both of them are doing for knots at the minute, it's just. I mean, I'm utterly convinced that Macca's going to be in the Premier League in the next couple of years. So just like the work he puts in and stuff like that, like, it's nothing short of phenomenal. So I'm really not surprised to see him sort of kicking on even further. But I always sort of maintain that in order for them to be so successful, like, they needed the service from midfield, and they were getting that last year a lot. When you think the amount of assists Ollie got, then you had the likes of Ward and Bailey and players like that would always sort of chip in as well. And I thought, yeah, if we're sort of keeping that on, then any strikers have got a good chance. But I think like start of the season, it's really sort of hit us just what a step up it actually is from the National League North into the National League. And that's by no means any disrespect to the National League North, because we really did have to work hard just to get out of it. And you think like some of the teams that have gone down and how long it took them to get back out, like clubs that are bigger than us, like you think like how long it took Stockport, how long it took York, how long it took clubs like that just to get out of it. So really we did quite well under those circumstances, but I just think like it's maybe sort of hit us, like we maybe struggled to sort of come to grips with the division so far, but is the signs of it. I mean, it was extremely disappointing last Tuesday at Holland to Altrincham. Like honestly, I'm like the most disappointed I think any of us have been in a Gateshead performance in quite a long time, because what we've sort of grown accustomed to is a team that, result aside, will always sort of be competing, never be outplayed, and we seem to go away from that. But it just shows the nature of the league and sort of the nature of us, really, that the following game we go away to Bromley, a team in absolutely sort of stupendous form at the minute, and a team that are sort of looking good to be in the playoffs by the end of the season, and we go down there and get a valuable point. So is that maybe the kickstart that we need? Yes, I know we've been sort of quite frustrated because of injuries and things like that of late. Like Aaron Martin's been a notable absence. It's been tough to keep a sort of consistent sort of lineup.
Yeah, and that always helps, doesn't it? Yeah,
to get together and sort of get the players to gel. But I'm hopeful that like once sort of these players come back, like it'll sort of really begin to show. Like Dan Jarvis has only just sort of started playing for us. Obviously signing for Wrexham in the summer. We weren't even able to use him in any of the matches up until we played Eastleigh on the 1st of this month, and he came on and he could tell that like he knew what he was doing. Like he knew how to play the league basically. So yeah, I'm hopeful, but yeah, we just got to sort of stick out. Like I accept that it's going to be tougher, but hopefully before long we will sort of start to find the formulas to do what we need to do to, one, stay in the division, but two, maybe sort of push up a bit. I mean, I'll personally be absolutely delighted if we're getting to March and we're absolutely bored out of our minds because we've got nothing to basically play for.
That's it, isn't it? I mean, I think Saturday coming obviously with the FA Cup as well, and it kind of, I think, gives the players, the managers, trying to take the mind off the division a little bit and kind of focus on the FA Cup. And to be honest as well, it's great for both clubs to kind of around the same area in the league, and it could be a huge, if someone wins that game on Saturday, getting that first round draw, you don't know who you're going to draw out. Like you say early in the show, you get Sheffield Wednesday, a team like that. Yes, it's a great for the players to go down and play, but the money that it's going to bring in for the club, it could be huge, couldn't it?
Absolutely, and you got to remember, obviously, we only played Altrincham in the league last week, so maybe, as I've said, a hugely disappointing performance. But could this game sort of be the players' chance to sort of show that they have actually learned from it against the exact same opposition? And as well, obviously, we played Altrincham in the Cup last year, and I think for an individual moment throughout last season, I think that winner in that replay last season probably does stand out as the best one. Obviously, winning the league was great, but it's sort of like in the days leading up to it actually being confirmed, you'd sort of run through it in your head. Whereas that was just like last minute of the game, like obviously with a tie against Charlton on the line, on the telly and stuff like that. Knowing that the Charlton game was going to be on the telly and stuff like that. Obviously, at the time, Altrincham being a league above us, it was just you couldn't have written that any better, to be honest with you. So I think like on Saturday, there's obviously either way, someone's going to get revenge. If Alty win, it's for what happened to them in the cup last year against us.
Yeah.
If we win, then it's sort of avenge what they did to us in the league last week. But I do think it'll be a tight game. I think it wouldn't surprise me if it needs a replay, we end up having to play them for a third time in a fortnight. But it's one of those, like, it is winnable. Like, you think what we could have got, like, we could have potentially been drawn against one of the big hitters from our own league. Like, could have easily got a Notts or a Wrexham or someone like that. So you obviously got to be glad of avoiding those. So it's one of them. Like, I noticed when people were predicting how last week's game was going, a lot were saying they're not going to be surprised either way. And I think this tie will be exactly the same. I don't think there's much in it between Gateshead and Alty just now. It's just about who, maybe who's more sort of up for it on the day. Like, will we go into that sort of even more fired up after last week? Like, will they? Obviously, they're the home side, so it's going to be an interesting one. But very much like looking forward to it. Like, I personally absolutely love the FA Cup, so all the
it's magic, isn't it? Yeah.
Sort of romance behind it. Like, if you think gets a first round, all we got to do is just win one game, then we could be potentially picking our wits against Derby, Bolton, Portsmouth, Sheffield Wednesday. But of course, the dream would be to get into that third round, get a Big Six club or something like that away from home, and and then we're really talking some mega bucks been brought into the club. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We've got to make sure we do the business on Saturday. Then, of course, what's most important is making sure that we can find a way to get a few points on the board in the league. And things in the league, like, it can change that quickly. We get 2 wins in a row, like, all of a sudden we're maybe not looking over our shoulders anymore. We're starting to look how far, like, could we even push towards the top half or something like that. That's just the nature of this league. That's how quickly things can change. So yeah. And the thing is, last year, after we got knocked out of the FA Cup, like, we lost obviously to Charlton on that Friday night, but our league form sort of after that Charlton game up until the new year was nothing short of stupendous. So it wasn't it? So good, like, so taking positives from the FA Cup and positives from the FA Cup, like, can really sort of help your league form. Alternatively, it can go the other way. Like, if it leaves you a massive fixture pile up, as per Kidderminster last year, it can have that sort of effect where it sort of derails the season a bit. But for us, I'd say what we learned from the FA Cup was a large factor in us sort of going on to what we achieved in the league by the end of last season.
Yeah, it's huge. And finally, Dan, a couple of predictions. Win, lose, or it's going to be a replay on Saturday?
I think we'll win the tie, but it won't surprise me if it does go back to the International Stadium. But hopefully that won't be the case, and we can just get it won, then just concentrate on the league again for a couple of weeks.
I hope we do. And just going back to the league, potentially, where do you think that you will be there come the end of the season?
I mean, at the minute, I'd just be happy to survive, as I'm sure any Heath fan would. But as I said, things can change in this league very quickly. I think, like, once we've got a near enough fully fit squad, like, together again, like the way it's been going, like, that probably never happened. But but I think once we have a starting lineup and a squad that's sort of settled, then I don't see any reason why we can't maybe by sort of the last game of the season just be sort of twiddling our thumbs a bit and just having a bit of a piss up on the last day of the season, really. Yeah,
enjoy it, don't you? But best of luck for the weekend as well. Hopefully we'll be back on in a few weeks discussing the next FA Cup round as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Cheers. Have a good
night. No, thank you for being on, Dan. And finally, last, we have Jacob. Jacob, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Cheers.
Excellent. And again, just thank you so much for everyone that's watching as well. It's been great. Pretty much double figures all night. And Niall's evening, guys, great show. Thank you, Niall, for your support. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It does mean a lot. But I think we're kind of saving the best to last on this one, because obviously looking at the other clubs, it's kind of been a hitty-missy season. And for Darlow sitting second in the league, were you expecting this at the start of the season?
No, I think I can speak for every Darlow fan, really. Looking at us second in the league, it's so surprising. Like, I mean, we have played some decent teams. We played Peterborough Sports, played Banbury, the new teams that have come up, and we got beat by Banbury, we beat Peterborough Sports, but we've not really played like a big team yet.
Mm-hmm.
We played Blyth. We were very lucky to beat Blyth. We scored like 96th minute. We rode our luck that day. Like, Blyth probably is one of the best teams I've seen us play all season, realistically. But just like the players that we've also brought in over the past couple of years, and the players we've lost as well. But just surreal that we're second in the league at this moment in time, to be honest.
No, it's fantastic. Like you say, I know Mason's mentioned there, he's always admired Alan Armstrong, but like you say, I think what I love to see every summer is the booster budget that you do as a group of fans. You get together, put the money in to bring these players in, and it's every year you produce the money to bring these players in. I say, like you say, like so Wheater, obviously Madison coming in, and it's great players, isn't it? Just to have on paper the experience of Football League players in that squad, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I honestly, our fans, I have no words for our fans sometimes, because we just beat ourselves every single time. Like, you look at it, the money that we generate from the fans, the money's ridiculous. Like, It's amazing. And obviously you want to get your cup runs in. Obviously we had the cup run at Walsall a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Obviously we got a replay, got it on telly, bit of money, and then COVID struck, but we still went to Swindon and then got to the second round against Bristol Rovers, and obviously we got absolutely hammered by Bristol Rovers. And they were, but the money obviously from the fans is just amazing. And bringing in the players like you say, like Wheater, Madison hasn't proven himself yet. He's not been there. He's been injured. He's not been there. But I'd obviously love to see him get a bit of fitness going and still going. And obviously they'll play like Mark Beck. There's no words for it. When we announced him, I was just like, I can't believe we signed him back. He's back to obviously we've had the spell before, but then losing Charman last year to Rochdale was a big miss, hit and miss, because it gave other players like Jake Cassidy an opportunity, and he didn't really prove himself, and we didn't really replace him. So the main sort of focus was we need to get a goal scorer, and we got a goal scorer in Mark Beck, and I think he's now second top goal scorer. I don't think he's top goal scorer anymore. I think Nick Horton from Fylde's top goal scorer, but he's there every year. But we also lost Hatfield as well to Fylde, but then replaced him with Morkay. And I said years ago when he was playing for York, he's one of the best midfielders I've seen, in the lower levels of football. He is genuinely just amazing. And obviously the strikers as well, saying about Beck. Hazel's come in. He was obviously top goal scorer last year at Whitby. And then that whole league, he was top goal scorer. So he was definitely the two lads from Whitby that we signed. We were Hazel good, but then that Suka, we were I've not really heard much about him. Obviously, he's supposed to be a left back. He plays centre half because Wheater's been out, and he's been outstanding. He really has. Him and Jake Law are making a partnership, and there's a few players in that team where I was when we done the retaining, I was I would have loved to see a couple more go, because I didn't really like them personally, but other fans did like them. For example, Ben Headley, a couple of years ago, I didn't like him one bit. And then last year, he got Players Player of the Year, Fans Player of the Year. picked up all the awards basically. Like, honest to God, he shocked me. It surprised me of how good he was that last season. But he's only getting better by the time, like every time we play, really.
No, it isn't, like you say, just with Mark Beck coming in. I know Mason's mentioned Jacob Hazel as well there. It's just important, that league, where you'll see some teams where they get stuck in a rut. They'll have a few draws here and a few draws there. But if you have that striker up front who, that one chance is going to score a goal that could win a game, it's huge in that league, isn't it?
Oh, massively, yeah. I mean, the last couple of weeks, he scored a hat-trick against Southport and scored a couple of few more. And then I think teams are now adapting to what we're wanting to do. And I can see that quite a bit. We're always trying to go, like, we're doing the long ball to Beck, which I like to see it because I know that we have a physical presence up there who can hold the ball up, play off the defenders. Like, we've got obviously other players like Jack Lambert and Kane Felix on the wings, like getting in behind. Kane Felix, by the way, what an absolute, like, that signing. I never expected it because obviously he got linked with us and then he went to Peterborough, and then I don't know what happened, but then Darlow tweeted a photo of Kane, like the WWE wrestler. I was like, we were like, what? And then announced Kane Felix. A couple of days later, scores on his home debut. We were like, wow. And obviously, he scored the winner on Saturday against Chester, which is a big win. We've not won there since Football League days, and it was a massive win for us because we don't turn up at that place. It's like a bogey team for us.
No, it's really good. Like you say, he's sitting second now, and just literally that 1 point off the top. 7 wins out of 11, drawn 2, and only lost the 2 games. I mean, can you just keep the run going, do you think?
It just depends on players staying fit. We've missed Moke the past couple of weeks, but we've obviously put the replacement Danny Rose, experienced head. He's played, obviously, Grimsby's played high level as well with Portsmouth. Obviously got promoted with Portsmouth and stuff like that a couple of years ago. But he's obviously I think he's like 34, 35 now. So that head to have in this league, playing midfield, knowing the game, knowing how to play, he's just there. Obviously missing Moke is a big thing. You got like Alex Purver around him, Ben Liddell. Ben Liddell was obviously at Bristol Rovers, son of Craig, who's a Darlow legend. Obviously, from when we were back in the day when we were going to go bust, and he stepped in and done what he did. And he'll always have a special place in Darlow's heart, Craig Liddell will. But I hope we keep going. I really do. I say this every season. We all say it every season. We get up there. Let's keep going. Let's get in the playoffs. Like, I would love to see us go up. I really would. But then again, I don't think we can afford it sometimes because we're looking at building a new stadium and stuff. But then obviously we're still fan owned, and it's quite a struggle sometimes with the money. But obviously, when the fans bring in the money that we do, it's just what you know what I mean.
It's all about bringing that right players in as well. I know it's so hard now, obviously, with the Division 1 North East, with the clubs coming from the Northern League, that next step, obviously, as well. You got the South Shields, and it's crazy because over the summer, there's one player comes available, and in the past, there might have been 2 or 3 teams chasing that player, and now it could be up to 13 teams from the conference down to the pretty much just above the national, so the Northern League as well, isn't it? It's hard to get them players in at the right time.
I mean, the teams around us, obviously, like the local teams and stuff like that. I'll mention, like, obviously about goal scorers and stuff, but Spenny's Glenn Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
What a player he is. Like, I hate every time we play against him because I just know he's going to score, he's going to do something. And, as much as, say, it's a rivalry, like with Spenny, to us, it's just a local game. And it's a heated game, but it's a good local game. It's the same with Blyth. Nothing to do with Blyth, like no rivalry with Blyth. But the teams around. You look in the North East. You've got obviously your Newcastles, your Sunderlands, your Borough, and then when it comes to the days, international breaks, and some of the fans come along to watch us, and it gets us going. It's really good sometimes getting the numbers on the gate because it gets behind the lads, and it's
No, it's amazing. Like you say, it's the banter as well. I know I was speaking to Dan just before we came live, and I kind of said when I made the group throughout the week, and you put you in there and it started saying, "Oh, it's you from that game." I thought, "Oh, what have I done here? It's going to be World War Three." At first, I didn't realise it was the banter, but it's just nice to see that in this league. That there's 4 teams. You go up the division below, there's 4 or 5 teams in that league. It's really good, like you say, when they're doing the bank holiday games, the Boxing Day games, trying to keep the games as local as possible. It's huge for teams, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. I like to see like new people at the games because I just think I've never seen you before. But if you're gonna come watch us, just come watch us. It's an extra head on the gate, a little bit more money, and obviously gate receipts and stuff like that. And it helps in the long term with the money and stuff. And I think our own like DJ, he's done amazing for the club. He really has. And Alan and Daz and the backroom staff and everything. It's good to see. Like after all, obviously before when we reformed, all the awful days with the administrations and the gloomy day. I've been a season goal since I was 5. I'm 20. So I've been to more than 15 years. I used to go with my granddad. Grew up watching Darlo from when we were back at Feetham's and all the old sort of old games, and he used to tell me all the stories. And now it's just every Saturday or Tuesday or Saturday, I just look and can't wait to go to the game. I just love going to watch Darlo. There's something about our fans as well that is just like a real togetherness at the moment because we're doing well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Normally we're asking for Alan's head after a bad form. We want him out, get him gone. But I'd love to see a few more players come in for if we are going to go for it. I feel like we do need a couple more players, experienced heads, to really keep going. And especially if people are going to get injured. Sometimes we've been playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, whatever. And people get tired. And I just really hope we push on because there is teams in this league like Kings Lynn, Fylde, Kidderminster, like them teams are dangerous teams. They really are.
Yeah.
And there's other teams that you expect to do well, but they haven't done as well. So for me, the massive shock's Boston. They've not done particularly well, and normally they're up there all the time. But yeah, I'd love to see us push on. Hopefully, even if you just get in the playoffs and don't go up, I'd take the playoffs. Like you said to me in October, right? You're gonna be second in the league. I know it's only October, but I'd be like, don't be daft.
Yeah. No, it'd be really good, isn't it? I mean, hopefully as well, and we mentioned a couple of our shows as well, come to January, February, if your teams are still chasing that around the top end of the league, I think clubs then got to kind of do a gamble and bring in that 1 or 2 players that might get us over the line, because where you're sitting now, the Conference North, you go up, you're in the conference, you have one good season, you could be in the Football League. Exactly. Do you take that gamble or do you not take the gamble, isn't it? But it's hard for clubs, obviously financial, of taking the gamble sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's obviously you likes of Stockport and Salford. Obviously, they've got the money. They've got a massive backing, like fans. Yeah. Obviously, Salford's the most notable one from obviously the class of '92. But I remember going to Salford the first time I went to Salford. They were playing orange at their old the stadium that they play at now, and then the owners came in, changed it to red. Load of money, and now look at them, they're in League 2. I'd love to see a trusty owner. Obviously we've had the bad owners with Rad Singh, George Reynolds, all that sort of stuff. But I love the owner at the moment, but we need someone with a bit of more money and a bit of backing if we're going to really go for it.
Yeah, we'll keep away from Mike Ashley. You don't want him. I know he's sniffing around still in the North East.
Definitely not.
But yeah, I mean, you've mentioned obviously there you were happy to take the playoff position, but come January, February, if they are still up there, you really want to get up that league. And I know obviously the rivals Hartlepool are kind of struggling in League 2. It could be that game back when it hasn't been played for years, but it would be nice to see that game on. So what a game of football it used to be, wasn't it?
I've heard stories. I've never experienced it, but when you look at it and how they're doing. I try not to look at it as much, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, what if it happens? Like, I'd absolutely love it if it happened, but it's just, you've got to see what happens at the end of the day. Football is football. It's a strange game sometimes. It really
No,
is.
definitely. But no, Jake, honestly, we've got our fingers crossed for you, like all the North East teams. We're just trying to help and push us as much as we can and getting the word out there. And hopefully, one or two people watching this will go down and try it out. And you never know, it could be there for many years to come watching Darlow. But like you say, we wish you the best of luck and hopefully finally get out of the division, get back where you belong for myself, personally.
Yeah, I hope we go up, but you only got to hope, don't you?
Definitely. No, definitely. But I just want to say a massive thank you, obviously, to the three lads that's been on, and yourself, Jake. It's been absolutely fantastic talking to you and getting kind of the background of the clubs and kind of your hopes for the season as well. It's been really good. But just before we go, we've just got to say a massive thank you to our sponsors, Baywatch TV, Sun and West End, and proud to support If You Care Foundation. Everyone watching live today has been pretty much double figures throughout the night. So massive thank you to all of you as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We're getting so close now to 500 subscribers. And hopefully, like I say, we'll be back in a few months' time doing another one of these and hopefully talking about some more good FA Cup runs. Hopefully get that third round for some clubs, likes of Darlow being still up there the end of the season. Well, because the North East, you kind of beat it. It's the best place to play football, isn't it?
Yeah, like the North East, obviously the club, the fans around here, I'd say we're the most passionate fans, like Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
You know, teams like that, the fans are so like different breed of just like passionate.
Excellent. But no, again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night as well.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers. Take care.